We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. I want to welcome you guys to this week's episode where we bring Yosef Lee, who will talk to us about real estate syndicates. So this week's all about real estate. But before we begin, let's hear from this week's sponsor. So I want to tell you about Passive Income MD Con this year. It's the third annual Financial Freedom Through Real Estate Conference hosted by Peter Kim, Prani Parikh, and Passive Income MD. So there's 20 plus other real estate investing experts, including Ken McElroy, who is a Rich Dad advisor, as well as the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast. You'll hear from all of these individuals about the different strategies for real estate investing. So if you're interested, feel free to click on the affiliate link in the show notes below. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as always, I always try to bring guests that are doing novel, innovative, and creative things in the financial freedom space. So we promote 4 types of freedom. The first is financial freedom. The second is time freedom. Third is location freedom. And the fourth is emotional freedom. So we have a very special guest today, Yosef Lee, and he is a lawyer by day, and he does multifamily apartment syndicator and investor, and he's also a strong faith father, people. He's a connector, and he's a strategist, and he's an entrepreneur. So his vision is to take back control of TPO, which stands for time, place, and occurrence, through financial freedom. And he started his journey of investing in cash flowing multifamily apartments as a tool to create passive income streams and to achieve generational wealth. Along his journey, he loves to make changes in others' lives and empower them to become a better version of themselves and to live lives on their own terms. He's based out of New York City, and if you follow him on Facebook, you'll see that he's done a lot of multifamily syndicates. And so without much ado, we welcome Yosef Lee to the show. Just before we begin, I have lawn landscapers outside, so that they may cause for the disturbance, but we live in a COVID world. So welcome, Yosef.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for inviting me. Very excited.
Yeah, we were just discussing, and I just got done interviewing a real estate agent she was a former physician. So I'm really interested in how people are making money in the real estate space. You don't always have to be a landlord. You don't have to be a flipper. So, and I'm happy to just bring people on the show and get the word out and awareness out. So tell us more about yourself, how you get started, and we'll go from there.
Sure, Chris. As you introduced myself briefly in the beginning, I'm a South Korean immigrant, a lawyer by trade. During the daytime, I'm full-time attorney, do a lot of litigation, civil litigation, but nights and weekends, I try to do my syndication and multifamily investing, father of 2 girls. And as you said, I'm aspiring to take back control of my time, place, and occurrence. It's TPO as what New York City Police uses in the police report. It means time, place, and occurrence. That means it's like, as you said, when you mentioned the 4 freedom, I was like, oh, that's kind of correlates with what I think is a TPO, like time, place. It's wherever you are, you want to be free from, you want to achieve that freedom from place, right? And occurrence, the events that you want to be free to decide your own terms, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what I aspire to. As an attorney, I soon realized by nature of my job, I trade my time for money. So the more money I want to make, I got to spend more time with work and the jobs. And it's going against the notion of the lifestyle that I was pursuing back then. So I started looking into creating passive income. That was the conclusion I made through some research. And I was dipping my hands a little here and there, like REITs and stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I tried a little bit, not too much. And then I quickly came landing on real estate and more so multifamily apartment investing, because the benefits that multifamily apartment investing provides is just, for me, it was no brainer not to take.
Uh-huh.
So I started not too long ago. It's been about a year and a half by now, and I joined mastermind groups and other investor meetups and groups, and started my networking and my partner through the mastermind groups, and we joined together, and we tackled down an apartment. My first deal was closed back in December of 2020. Ever since then, I became a part of 5 more deals. And here I am. That's in a very nutshell, my real estate journey.
That's awesome. I saw your post on social media, and we connected, and I'm really excited to see people take back control and just do other things. People usually thought of freedom as having a high paying job, but I recently watched a movie where there was just based back in the 80s, where it's just a high paid doctor, and he had no time for his family. He just he was making a lot of money, but he just his family, he had no time for his family. So why is it that busy professionals such as yourself, high paying doctors, why do they need to invest? Isn't their job enough to they can make 6 7 figures, 8 figures? Why do they need to invest?
No, I think it's enough, but still, I see 2 different kinds of incomes where we work. And as an attorney, you as a doctor, the money we make is an active income, meaning unless we're actively involved physically, and also, time wise, we put time in it, the money is not gonna come, right? It's gonna just stop there. I saw many different cases where somebody like busy professional, they hurt, and then for a while they couldn't go to work. Now it's a little different story because we could work remote. But even so, let's say, God forbid, I get to an accident, I lose my sight or something, right? A vision, my voice, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't speak. Yeah, I can still write, but it's not as same as before. My capacity, my ability to make money will exponentially drop in, and it will go down. So that's the sort of idea of how I started thinking about passive investing, because the idea of making money for myself when I even go to sleep, that's a great. So yeah, that's how I started. And so, not saying it's just for high paying professionals like you or me. I think it's for everybody. At one point or the other, you should have multiple income stream so that you could be ready for any type of situation for your family and yourself, right?
Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points, because we are all limited by time and physical labor. So if we all have a finite amount of time, and our as we age, our ability to work, physically work, is going down. So we have to be able to leverage mental work and knowledge, and the experience of an investor and business owner. So you brought a lot. I was recently talking with a colleague, and the idea of, we're brought into this idea of job security. What do you think that job security exists today, and especially for lawyers and doctors in the age of automation? Recently, I was at a restaurant and we were served by a robot. So what do you think about the idea of
Mm.
investing, because the idea of job stability and security is not there anymore?
Um, I, I I think there is no 100% job security or sustainability at
Uh,
this point, because unless you work hard, who knows what's going to happen, right? and you got to be effective to someone so that that someone can continue to hire you. And if you call it a job security, I don't know about that, because you are at the fingertip of someone else's. Like if that person wants to let go of you, you got to just let go of, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you could, if you want to call it a job security, it's really not. It's probably our parents' generation.
Uh-huh.
For working for a big company, if you become a part of the company will take care of you. I think that's the notion that our parents' generation used to have.
Uh-huh.
But now everything is so changed.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to admit that reality, but a lot of times we are seen as a numbers in the office or in the firm, unless you establish a good relationship with your employer. It might be a little different story. In my case was a little different. I have a very good relationship with my employer, and I have trust and some sort of job security here.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think it's a prevalent situation. It's probably a little tiny portion out of 100%, maybe 5-10%, but the rest 90%. I think being employed, I don't think it's a security. It's more of well, you're just part of someone else's decision. You have no control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it's quite interesting because a lot of doctors last year, they were caught off guard because one is their hospitals got overwhelmed with COVID patients. So hospitals needed, tons of support staff and workers. But at the same time, revenues dwindled. The hospitals and executives made records off the stimulus, but they had to fire and furlough a lot of physicians, nurses, and staff. So I actually got a email requesting, can you come on as a reserve volunteer? That's just incredible to me. But it's just like you said, you're at the whim of some higher influence and authority. So what we'll switch gears to multifamily. So why did you choose multifamily? And a lot of physicians are interested in real estate because of taxes and a safe place to put their wealth and cash flow. So tell us more about getting into it and why you chose it.
Sure. The reason why I chose real estate over stocks or other investment vehicles, I'm not saying the stocks or other investment vehicles are bad or worse or anything. It's just different. And my preference is over real estate, more so multifamily. I first saw there is a basic human needs of food, clothing, and shelter, right? So apartments, so demand is always there. And demographic shifting supports baby boomers downsizing from big housings to a smaller with nice amenities, and millennials as well. They are not buying homes anymore. They want to live in an apartment with convenient amenities and nice amenities, right? And there's a cash flow, monthly or quarterly checks coming in, right? That's a good part. Inflation rate is nationally 2-3% each year. I don't know about now, but the last number I checked 2 years ago was about 2-3% each year. Whereas savings will get you what? Not even 1% sometimes. Yes. So saving money is no longer a wise choice, right? You're basically storing your money somewhere. It's just storage. But national rent growth is over 3%, 3, 4, 5%. So it's definitely a hedge against the inflation. Multifamily, yes, scalability. There's an economies of scale. It's easier to manage 25 unit apartment under one roof than to manage 25 single family homes here and there scattered. Tax benefit you mentioned, yes. There's something called cost segregation, and you get to expedite the depreciation process. So you could use that to offset your tax liability from your passive income. So that's another great point that you made. So these are mainly the benefits that I looked at. And using the proper strategy, repositioning and cashing out refi strategy, I looked at it as velocity of money. Your money will at one point get onto the momentum, and your money will make more money, and it's easier for that.
Yeah, you brought up so many good points. What's interesting is that what are your thoughts? The current interest rate is less than 1%. And, with the, inflation starting to rise, the Fed's trying to keep it under check, but especially with, and then there's a housing boom as well. There's, continued construction. What do you see the real estate market, going, do you think the interest rates are going to stay the same, or are we in for a housing bust or a crash, similar to 2008? What do you think about that?
As to that, I'm not an expert in the market knowledge. However, the things I hear is that at one point, sooner rather than later, we'll have kind of cool down period. Now we're looking like a top market at this point, but I think in a year or two, I assume we'll have some cool down period. Interest rate will go up a little bit, but now it's kind of low that a lot of people are just borrowing money and trying to spend that. And I see a lot of people just overpaying for property. So it's always important to buy right to make it more profitable. And as you mentioned about new constructions, the target properties that we are looking at are B and C type. Sometimes A we look at too, but more so B type properties, B class and C class. These apartments are not built up anymore. It's always A class now if they're building a new construction, right? So demand is still there. And throughout COVID, we saw over 90% occupancy all the time for all the properties that we dealt with. And collection rate was great, over 90%. So I think rental market will continue to be strong for the next years to come.
Yeah,
I hope so too.
Yeah, I think it's if you got in early, I got in 2008, and as you had a build up period, and if you're a property owner, now's the best time because rents are higher. It's harder to get into a property. There was recently, I think now private equities buying up a lot of properties as well. There's a lot of development. So, if you got in early and you're a real estate investor, and it's a great time. So what if somebody, so for example, you have a million dollar property, somebody doesn't have 200,000 down. What are other ways that investors can participate in multifamily commercial apartment? I know you're involved in syndicates, so tell us more about that.
Sure. The syndication is a little bit different from just buying a single family or flipping and renting it out. It's because if you deal with single family or residential multifamily, you can do it yourself. Your down payment will be very important. How much down payment you have will be very important because you're going to have to do yourself and inspections and closings and all that. You got to run the show. But syndication is a team play. So if you do not have the money to bring in, you can actually add value in a different way. So for example, I look at a good syndication team. They have a team it's comprised of somebody who's good at underwriting and finding the deal, somebody who has high net worth, who can sign on the loan, somebody who has a prior experience, who could add the credibility side, somebody who could be a boots on the ground, working as a local point person, somebody who's good at marketing, investor relationship. You see all these titles. It doesn't have to be 6 or 7 partnership group, but 2-3 people can share this up. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not only about money, right? Money as a syndicators, we raise. Yes, in the beginning, we need some money to lock the deal as earnest money deposit. But again, if you don't have that money, you can add value by looking for a deal and finding the deal and bringing the deal. And then if this is a good deal, all teams are agreeing to, let you into the general partnership group, and you get that general partnership equity there, right? If you're good at raising capital, you don't have to bring your own money, but you could actually bring in other potential investors, and using the potential investors' money, we close the deal together. So you don't really have to have your own money. So I think there are ways to come into the game. In the beginning, unless you have credibility, it will be hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's impossible. There's still ways, and you can do it.
Yeah. The sky's the limit. So when there's a will, there's a ways.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's quite and then for the listeners, it's also, you can use, it's like a pool, so you don't have to control, you don't have to do everything yourself. As Yosef said, you can combine your expertise with people with different skill sets, and work as a team and pool your time, talent, your money together to achieve a goal. So, and then in that way your returns on time, money investment are much greater. So 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 what is, I know a lot of listeners will be interested in this, especially how do you time manage especially your life as a busy lawyer, you have family, plus your all these business deals. How do you manage your time?
So time management, it will be critical for myself too,
uh,
because as you said, I have full-time job and I got to work in multifamily and night and weekends, and I have two of my kids.
uh,
When I get home, they always ask like, how many Zoom calls do you have tonight? So I try to time block for them.
uh,
So I am obsessed with planning, right? So I have like a daily, weekly, a monthly, like yearly planner,
uh,
and I constantly change, prioritize things, and move things around as a block, right? Okay, so for this, I gotta have a time block at 6 o'clock tonight, things like that. So I think excessive planning and prioritizing and time blocking is the method I use. And with that, I use a lot of calendar apps and to-do list apps, and sometimes writing on the paper.
uh,
So, but it's a constant effort to push myself to make sure things are aligned.
yeah, that's great advice. um how can people get in contact with you, follow you on social media if they're interested in investing with you in a syndicate? How can they get in contact with you?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's in such a short amount of time, I couldn't really uh, talk about what I really do in
uh,
terms of syndication, right? So you can. I'm very approachable. You could reach me out through social media. You could use social media handle Yosef Your Brosef. That's my nickname. So
uh,
YOSEF YOUR BROSEF. I'm on LinkedIn, Insta, Facebook page, so you could find me easily and send me a text. Again, I'm very approachable. I reply and we'll set up a Zoom call and explain what a syndication is and how you could be benefited from that. And you don't have to be a full-time investor, right? You could
uh,
still come in as passive investors. You don't have to worry about hassles of going through tenants, toilet fixing issues and their calls. You don't have to pick it up. You don't have to manage the property.
uh,
We have team of people who do that for you, or you just enjoy your money making money as a passive investor, and you
uh,
could enjoy tax benefits as well.
awesome. And one last thanks so much for coming on the show. What is one final word of inspiration, tip, advice to the listeners?
Um, I think I want to say this is so doable. You don't have to be intimidated by the number of units. My first deal was 44 unit apartment in Kansas,
uh,
and a lot of people said, "Oh, how did you think about going to over 40 units as your first deal?"
uh,
And I thought about it, and I said it's still doable, but you got to have a good team, right? If you're alone, you can't do it yourself. But if you have a good team, you can do it together. Because again, it's not about having money. It's not about only finding a deal. It's about as a team how to strategize and how to tackle this deal together.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's doable. You can definitely do it. Um, I'll I want to share my experience with you. So definitely reach out to me.
Yeah. And for all the listeners, it's team. We can't do it alone. So a one man show versus a team. So you've given so much inspiration and words of advice. And for all the listeners, all of the Yosef's references will be in the show notes. So thanks so much. And I know you have a busy day, so we'll let you get back to it. And thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
Take care.
Thank you.
So that wraps it up for this week's episode. I hope you got a lot of great tips, a lot of advice, and a lot of insights from Yosef Lee. But before we end, let's hear it from our sponsor again. Passive Income MD is hosting the Passive Income MD Con 2021. It's the third Financial Freedom Through Real Estate conference hosted by high-income professionals, including physicians, lawyers. It has Ken McElroy, as well as the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast. I encourage you to check it out. It's free to sign up. There's a lot of VIP upgrades, and you can click on the affiliate link in the show notes below. Until then, we'll see you next week. I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislewmdphd.com, for more support. I'll see you next week.